The engagement party was supposed to be perfect. I had spent weeks planning every detail, the flowers, the food, the guest list. I wanted everything to reflect the life my fiancé, Luke, and I were about to build together. As I moved through the crowd that evening, greeting friends and family, I felt as if I were floating, wrapped in the warmth of everyone's smiles. Everything was as it should be, as I had dreamed it would be. Then he walked in. I didn't know Luke had a brother. He had mentioned family drama before, but I had never pressed him on it. I assumed it was one of those things better left unspoken, a wound he had learned to cover with time. So when this stranger appeared at the party, he cut through the crowd like a storm cloud drifting into an otherwise sunny day. He had the same sharp eyes as Luke, the same chiseled jaw, but there was a roughness to him, an untamed energy that instantly drew my attention. His gaze swept the room until it landed on me, and I felt a spark, a jolt that made me take a sharp breath. His eyes were piercing, searching, and it felt as though he were looking right through me, seeing parts of me I hadn't shown anyone. I couldn't look away. My pulse quickened, and for a moment, the noise of the party faded into the background. I couldn't explain it, but I felt a connection, something raw and undeniable. I caught myself and quickly averted my gaze, feeling a surge of guilt. Luke was across the room, laughing with his friends, completely unaware of the man staring at me. I turned my attention back to him, trying to refocus, to ignore the stranger at the edge of the gathering, but it was no use. I felt that pull, that curiosity gnawing at me, even as I forced myself to smile and pretend nothing was amiss. The moment Luke noticed him, I saw his face change. Recognition turned to anger, and I watched as he made his way across the room. I followed, feeling a knot tighten in my stomach. They stood face to face, the tension between them palpable, and I sensed that whatever history lay between them was dark and unresolved. I held my breath as Luke finally spoke, his tone icy. "This is my brother Adam," he said, the words clipped and bitter. I could feel the resentment radiating from him, but Adam simply nodded, his gaze never leaving mine. There was no warmth, no brotherly affection in the exchange. I looked between them, feeling caught in something far bigger than myself, and offered a tight smile. Adam nodded, a faint, almost knowing smile playing on his lips, as if he understood something I didn't. Throughout the night, I couldn't stop thinking about him. I tried to focus on the party, on Luke, on the life we were building, but my gaze kept drifting back to the shadowy figure at the edge of the room. He lingered, watching, his presence like an unanswered question, a mystery that pulled me in deeper with every glance. I wondered about him, about the bitterness that seemed to hang between him and Luke, and I couldn't deny the thrill of knowing something about Luke's past that he hadn't shared with me. As the night wore on, I felt an inexplicable need to get closer to him. I made excuses, drifting away from Luke's side, catching Adam's eye across the room. I didn't know what I was doing, only that I felt drawn to him in a way that frightened me. It was as if he were a mirror, reflecting parts of myself I had never acknowledged. There was a darkness in his eyes, a depth I couldn't resist. When the party began to wind down, I slipped outside, feeling suffocated by the crowd, by the weight of my own emotions. The night air was cool against my skin, and I let out a shaky breath, trying to calm the chaos swirling inside me. I closed my eyes, grounding myself, but when I opened them, he was there, standing close enough that I could feel the warmth of his body. My heart raced, and I felt my pulse quicken, my mind screaming for me to go back inside. But I couldn't move. We stood in silence, the air between us charged with something unspoken. I knew I should walk away, return to Luke, pretend this moment wasn't happening. But I couldn't bring myself to leave. His presence held me there, rooted to the spot, drawn to him in a way that defied logic. I felt alive, on the edge of something dangerous, something that threatened to pull me under. Adam took a step closer, his gaze holding mine, and I felt my breath catch. It was as if the world around us had faded away, leaving only the two of us in the stillness of the night. I felt his fingers graze my arm, sending a shiver down my spine, and I knew I was about to cross a line I could never uncross. The guilt was there, a dull ache in the back of my mind, but the thrill, the heat of his touch, drowned it out. I let him guide me further into the shadows, away from the lights, from the laughter of the party. I knew it was wrong, that I was betraying Luke, but I felt powerless to stop myself. Every touch, every breath, every movement drew me deeper, binding me to him in ways I couldn't explain. Our kisses were urgent, frantic, fueled by a need I hadn't felt in years. I felt alive in his arms, consumed by the passion that ignited between us, and I surrendered to the moment, letting myself be carried away. We moved together, our bodies tangled in a fevered dance, hidden from the world. I felt the ground beneath me, the cool earth grounding me even as my mind spun with the reality of what we were doing. His hands roamed over me, igniting fires wherever he touched, and I knew I was lost. In that moment, nothing else mattered, only the heat, the thrill, the forbidden desire that had taken hold of me. Afterward, we lay together in the darkness, our breaths mingling, our bodies entwined. I felt the weight of what we'd done settle over me, but there was no regret. I felt exhilarated, alive, my senses still humming with the aftermath of our encounter. I knew I should feel ashamed, that I should be horrified by my own actions, but I wasn't. I had tasted something I hadn't known I craved, and the memory of it would linger, a secret hidden deep within me. When we finally rose, I dressed in silence, stealing glances at him, knowing this was something I would carry with me forever. He looked at me, his gaze steady, and I felt a strange sense of understanding pass between us, a connection that went beyond words. We had shared something raw, something primal, and I knew it would haunt me, even as I returned to the life I had left behind. As I walked back inside, I felt the thrill of our encounter still coursing through me, a reminder of the fire that had sparked between us. I found Luke waiting, his face full of warmth and trust, and my heart twisted with guilt. I forced a smile, slipping back into the role I'd played before, but I felt changed, marked by what had happened. Adam was gone, vanished into the night, but he had left a mark on me, a memory that would never fade. I carried the weight of our secret, the thrill of our passion, the knowledge that I had crossed a line that would forever alter my life. I knew the future would be uncertain, a fragile balance of love, betrayal, and desire, and I wondered if I would ever truly escape the shadow of what I had done. As I stood among the remnants of our perfect night, I felt a strange sense of calm, a quiet satisfaction that pulsed beneath the surface. I had tasted a forbidden desire, and though the consequences loomed before me, I couldn't bring myself to regret it. I was bound now, not only to Luke, but to the memory of his brother, the passion I had found in his arms, and the part of myself I had discovered in the darkness.